So, a very good evening to everybody. Lovely to be here with you all this evening. Um, we're going to start off our practice this evening in whatever way you would like to start it. So, if you'd like to lie, you are more than welcome to lie. If you would like to sit, you are more than welcome to sit. But just taking some time to bring yourself into a position that feels comfortable for you. And if you find it useful, placing any props or pieces of equipment over you or around you to support you. Maybe where tonight's quite cool, you might want a blanket. But just adjusting the environment, adjusting the place where you are to be as comfortable as you can allow it to be. Maybe closing the eyes, maybe keeping the eyes open, maybe covering the eyes with something if you're lying or reclining. So just giving yourself just a few moments just to begin to connect, firstly, with the fact that you've got yourself here, that you've arrived, but also with what you're bringing with you to this practice this evening. Maybe there's things that are happening or going on for you that might be relating to your body, things that might be relating to your mind, your mood, maybe things to do with relationships or work, families, friendships. So just recognizing all of those things that might be kind of lingering around. And noting what of those things can maybe just be put to one side for this next 75 minutes. Maybe there's that list of things that needed to be done today that maybe isn't quite so complete. But then there's also those things that maybe you know are going to pop up in your practice tonight. Things that might feel unresolved or things that might have been pushed away earlier in the day. So just giving yourself just a few moments to be aware of what you're working with this evening. Physically, energetically, mentally, emotionally. But also allowing yourself an opportunity to acknowledge intuitively why you've brought yourself here. What is your intention behind this practice? Your reason or reasons for being here? And as well as the idea of kind of the sort of logical reasons why we may be here this evening, also allowing yourself to acknowledge the possibilities. And sometimes we don't even know what those things may be. So sometimes maybe just considering a little bit of space within you where the unknown can arise, where we can be open to possibilities, open to ideas. open to those things sometimes that we may feel kind of deep beneath the surface. And then with that brief reflection, our intention set, and that possibility space created within ourselves. I'm going to invite you, if you are lying, just to begin to maybe stretch and move and roll to one side. If you're sitting, you might just want to move or adjust the position that you're in currently. So if you have been lying, you might just want to roll over to one side. And then we're going to bring ourselves up into a seat. I'm going to suggest sitting on something. So a cushion, a blanket. I'm sitting on one of those yoga blocks. Maybe you need something a little bit higher. Maybe something a little bit lower would be beneficial for you. We're going to bring our feet into, or legs into a position which is called butterfly pose. So that involves bringing the soles of the feet together and allowing the knees and an outward rotation of our hips. Now, for some people, they will find being in this position feel quite comfortable. For others, you might need a bit of support. So support could be given by putting a bolster underneath the back of the legs and letting the knees and the thighs rest upon that bolster. For some people, they might need to put individual support. So maybe if you've got one side that needs support and the other side doesn't, you might just want to support one side. But this position, which is called butterfly pose, as I say, it's an outward rotation of our hip joints. It can also help to just gently stretch out through the lower back and the sacroiliac joint at the base of the lower back and the back of the pelvis. So we're going to start off just by sitting up tall. So just resting your hands either on your knees, maybe on your shins, maybe your arms are a little bit longer and they reach a bit further down towards the ankles. Just taking a moment here just to allow yourself just to connect with that sense of the floor and the earth that's beneath you. So what you're sitting on, what your legs are resting upon. And then a sense of your spine feeling tall from that base all the way through to the crown of the head. Now, if you're feeling quite tired through the back today, or maybe the back needs a little bit of support, you could always do this leaning against a wall. So you could use the wall to sit upright along. I'd like you to take your attentions to your breath and just begin to explore how the breath is in this moment. So noticing if, as you turn the attention to the breath, whether the breath starts to kind of respond to the reaction that you've given to it. So you might notice yourself breathing a little bit deeper or breathing out a little bit longer. It might be that you can keep the breath relatively stable, and you might notice where you can feel the breath in your body. So you might feel the breath around the chest area. You might find it around the upper back. You might feel your breath more down towards the abdominal area. So maybe around the navel sort of area. You might notice your breath in and out through the nostrils or the mouth, or a combination of both of those. So just feeding into the sensations of the breath. The body responding to the movement of your breath. Noticing maybe as you breathe in, there's a slight sense of coolness with your in-breath. There might be a slight sense of warmth with your out-breath. Noticing if your in-breath or your out-breath feels more dominant. And what you might start to just naturally do is just let yourself begin to lean in towards the feet a little bit more. So you might just start to let the back round a little bit. You might hinge from the waist. You might let the shoulders sort of drop and the chin drop. You might want to slide the hands away or off of the legs or off of the feet. You might want to bring them on the floor. You might want to hold the base of your feet, or you might want to hold the inseams of your feet with your thumbs and imagine your feet are a little bit like a sort of book that you're gently opening. So you just started to lean forwards into this slight forward fold. Haven't got to go anywhere too dramatic, anywhere too far. Just exploring how that feels through those hip joints, how that feels in the glutes, in the knees and in the ankles, how that feels around the lower back and the abdominal area. Also trying not to hold tension through the shoulders, through the face. Maybe if you're holding the legs or holding the feet, noticing whether you're gripping and holding on. Can you invite a sense of softness and ease rather than kind of overriding need that can sometimes happen when we're in these postures to want to get somewhere? Just notice what it feels like just to be without any expectation. Noticing the sensations that you can feel in your body and noticing your breath. So when you begin to feel ready, I want you to just gently start to lift yourself back into that upright position. So just stretching through the spine again. And then bring the hands around the back of your knees and just gently close your knees together. You might just want to pause there with the feet on the floor, knees together. You might find just naturally you want to stretch your legs away. You might find you want to do a little bit of circling of the ankles, maybe some pointing and flexing through the feet. You might actually find it's your back that needs a little bit of support. So you might just want to round and then lift the chest. So we're just kind of coming into a gentle seated version of cat and cow. Just exploring that movement through the spine. Maybe there's something else completely different that you need to do. So we're going to come into another forward fold, but we're going to have a different formation of our legs. So I'd like you to find your right leg and you're going to tuck your right leg back behind you. Now, as we do this, everyone's going to have a different position that their right leg hopefully feels a bit more comfortable in. So I know for me, the wider I take my right leg, the easier I find it. For some of you, though, you might find it easier being closer. What we need to make sure is that we're not kind of causing any compression through this right knee. So if this doesn't feel comfortable, I want you to come out of that and bring your foot in to the inseam of your left leg. You could also put some padding, so you could double up your mat, or you could put a bit of extra blanket or softness underneath the knee. Or for some people, the ankle can actually be the slightly more uncomfortable thing, having that ankle pointed back. So again, if you need to put some padding underneath it, particularly if you're practicing on a solid floor like this, that can be quite a useful thing to consider. We're then going to turn ourselves so we're facing over our left leg. And again, we're going to start to just sit upright to begin. And then notice how it feels to just begin to lean towards that left leg. And just naturally, you might find your hands come onto your leg, your hands might come onto the floor. You might find as you start to lean forward that you need to lift your left knee up a little bit. And you could always put, like I did before, a bolster, blanket, something could go underneath that left leg, which actually might help you to start to come forwards a little bit more. So just noticing if bending that left knee feels useful for you. So we've got, it's kind of a bit of a weird angle with this hip. It's an outward rotation, but where we're taking that knee back, it's again slightly inwardly rotating the hip as well. So what can be quite useful coming into this position is it will help to release the right hand side of our sacroiliac joint and our right sort of lower back area, because most of us tend to have a more dominant and a less dominant side. So working on these sides individually can be better than sometimes coming into a forward fold where we do the same thing over both of the legs. So by changing this position, it would just help to sort of start to challenge the body in slightly different ways. Now, when I say challenge, I don't want you to be at that maximum. I want you to be in a place where this feels an achievable place for you to be. All the work is done in the subtleness and the softness of this practice. So if we're hard up against ourselves and we're in a place whereby, you know, we feel like we're struggling, and that struggle will show up by shaking in the body. It will show up through an eagerness or an effort in our breath. It will also show up in the ways that maybe our mind tries to distract ourselves from being in the moment. So you'll go back into to-do lists or stuff that is parked in the back of your mind to just take you out of the moment. So they're normally all signs that our nervous system has kicked into that kind of active doing daytime state, whereas we want to encourage it to move into that more nighttime state, so a calmer, softer, gentler, more inward, reflective, and nurturing side towards ourselves. So when you feel ready, what I'd like you to do is just gently begin to push yourself up and out of this position. We are going to swap straight to the other side, but before we swap to the other side, we're just going to free everything away from any support of the legs and just spend a couple of moments just letting the knees just gently sort of move from side to side. So doing this windscreen wiper. You might even want to turn your head in the opposite way to the legs. Some of you might find bringing the feet and the legs together feels better. Some of you might want quite a wide sort of position with the legs. If you do notice yourself sort of shuffling forwards, feel free to, if you're sitting on a block, come off of that block. So just doing one more of these to each side. and then coming back to our neutral position. If you need to sit back on your seat, please do. And then stretch your right leg away. And then options are going to be to bring that left leg back behind ourselves. So again, we end up either taking that left thigh quite far away from ourselves, or some of you might prefer to be a little bit closer towards the right thigh. Again, if it doesn't feel comfortable, the alternative is to bring the foot into the inseam of that right leg and the knee just drops out to the side. Again, we're going to sit up tall from our base and then begin to lean or roll through the back, whatever feels most comfortable for you. And again, finding the leg or maybe finding the floor either side of that leg. Some of you might be able to hold shins or ankles. You might be able to hold the feet or the toes. Again, if you feel your body is kind of quite hard up against itself, so particularly when we're stretching through the back of the legs, through the hamstrings particularly, these can be quite restrictive for some people. So you might find bending of that right leg, supporting it, and then coming forwards might take quite a lot of pressure off of the lower back and actually let you come into a slightly deeper version of the forward fold by taking some of that pressure off of that hamstring. So again, you'll kind of know what feels good, what feels right, what feels too challenging, what feels sometimes not challenging enough. And sometimes we do need to push ourselves that little bit further, but staying within that remit of kind of taking care and being really focused on those visceral responses that we're having within ourselves. So the sensations, the changes of the breath, the shifting of the energy, the fluctuations of the mind, the conversations that we have in our own heads around our worthiness of being able to do this and how much care we can actually take of ourselves. Very often we can be in a very negative cycle in terms of the talk that we offer to ourselves. So just noticing if any of those things are happening for you. And the most obvious thing to do is to find a path of kindness through this. Find a path of least resistance. And in the practice of yoga, this is called ahimsa. It's showing up, but not showing violence towards ourselves. Not showing harm or violence towards others as well. So when you feel ready, again, we're gently going to lift ourselves up and away from that position. We're going to use our bolsters in a second. So if you're not using yours, you might want to just bring it a little bit closer to you. If you haven't got a bolster, a cushion or some pillows are quite useful. So just pop your bolster to sort of within arm's reach. Again, just have a little sort of move, stretch, do what you need to do through the body to release. We're going to actually use our bolster for the next two positions. What I'm going to suggest is might be useful for you is to turn so you're in the same direction as me on the mat. So you're going to turn so you're looking along the sort of long edge of your mat rather than the thin one. We're going to pop our bolster to, if we find when we're sitting, find your right hand side. So pop your bolster on your right hand side. And then what we're going to do is bend our right knee and we're going to bring our right thigh towards the end of our bolster. So you need to turn yours lengthways, Natasha. Your bolster. That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's all right. And then we're going to bring our left leg back behind us. So it's almost as though we're sort of creating an M shape with our legs. That makes sense. And then we're going to come onto the bolster and see if we can lay our torso along the bolster, but turn your head in the opposite way to the way that your legs are pointed. So what we are doing here is we've got a rotation through the hips, we've got a twist happening through the body. The abdomen is feeling supported, or the chest area is feeling supported. And then we've also got a twist through the upper part of the back and neck. So for some of you, you may find you need to give yourself a little bit of extra height, maybe to bring the head onto. So you could grab another cushion or put a blanket underneath. And for some people, just elevating the head a little bit higher, or even having a little bit more support underneath the chest could feel quite useful. If possible, see if you can allow the arms to completely relax. So you might let the elbows drop out to the sides a little bit more. So essentially what we're doing is we're letting the weight of the body be took into the length of the bolster. So this is a useful position which will help to stretch out through our right glute area. Having that slight compression to the abdomen and the support along the front of the body will help to activate the nerve that runs from all of our major organs back up through the spinal column and back up into the brain, called the vagal nerve, which helps to calm and soothe and slow ourselves down. So the vagal nerve gets activated when we do things like, you know, how naturally kind of when you sometimes support yourself, you might hold your belly or you might hold your chest. Have some people find sound or vibration can be quite comforting. Why people sing or talk to themselves, or sing or talk to other people. Our vagal nerve can be stimulated also by longer exhalations than inhalations. And they're all natural things that we do to help ourselves calm down and slow down. But also things that we sometimes do in our sleep. And quite often as adults, we kind of unlearn these things. So this yoga practice can be a really useful way to just remind ourselves that we do have some kind of power and authority over what happens with our nervous systems. So just a couple more breaths in this twisted position. And then when you feel ready, I want you to just use your hands, placing them on the floor, either side of the bolster, and just gently push yourself up and away from the bolster. I want you to just come back and sit almost kind of in the middle of your mat. Free your leg. And then we're going to move the bolster over to our other side. So just bringing it over towards our left-hand side. So again, you're just going to take a bit of time. You might want to bring the body a little bit closer to the bolster. And then first thing we're going to do is bend our left knee, taking our left foot underneath our right leg, and then just tucking that right leg back behind ourselves. Then we're going to start to turn ourselves around. So you're bringing the abdomen and maybe the chest onto that bolster, and then turning your head in the opposite direction to the way that your legs are going. So the legs will be pointing one way, your head will be turned the other way. And sometimes when we first come into these positions, you might need to adjust or move yourself a little bit. You might find it's just a little bit of kind of subtle movement that needs to happen rather than big movement. Also noticing where there's a little bit of sensation or resistance in the body. You might find it through the hips. You might find it around the lower back, maybe around the shoulder blade, back of the neck, back of head. Just allowing ourselves this little bit of time to let the bolster really take the effort away from the body. Feeling that sensation of the bolster supporting the torso. And you might even find yourself just slightly breathing into the bolster, feeling the body respond and react. Again, when you feel ready, just gently start to think about sliding the hands down either side of the bolster and slowly beginning to edge your way up, really taking your time. So stay, we're going to use the bolster for the next position that we're going to come into, which is going to be an upper back bend, but also a shoulder and tricep stretch as well. So what I'd like you to do is bring your bolster towards the top end of your mat. Again, this can be a couple of cushions stacked on top of each other or a couple of blankets. The key here is actually being a little bit further back than what you first think you need to be. So coming sort of into like a 4-point kneeling position. So maybe just your fingertips just sort of tucked underneath the bolster. We're going to tuck our toes under, if that feels okay, just so we can push into the toes and stretch through the balls of the feet. And then we're going to bring the elbows forward, interlace our hands together. And then some of you might find you just want to rest your head upon the bolster. Some of you might kind of come more to the edge of the bolster and let the head sort of hang a little bit more and hang a little bit more in those shoulder blades. So just depends on your flexibility and your comfortableness in being able to stay in that position. So you should feel this around shoulder blade area. You will probably feel it around your upper back. We're kind of compressing that shoulder blade area a little bit. So you might, again, it's one of those positions where you might find yourself just needing to edge forwards or back a little bit. The lovely thing about using a bolster is you can kind of push your weight into it a little bit more, and you might find actually that just helps to give that little bit of resistance. Also, the nice thing about resting the head on the bolster is hopefully it doesn't feel too kind of claustrophobic. So sometimes in this position, our head can feel quite close to the floor, and if you do suffer a bit with claustrophobia, it can be a little bit intense. So again, if you find maybe having the hands interlaced behind the head just feels a bit too much, you haven't got to do that. You could just keep them interlaced, but just stretch them forward towards the top end of the mat rather than sort of linking them around the back of the head. But the key thing here is that we haven't got the bottom going back onto the heels. So we're not in child's pose. This is a slightly more active position. As I say, centering around that chest area, the armpit area, the shoulder blades, a back bend into the mid and the upper part of the back. So when you feel ready, push into those elbows, gently lift yourself away from this position and come back into that 4-point kneeling, untucking your toes if you haven't done already. And then maybe just a few moments just to move through the back. Maybe again, a cat and cow movement, maybe a swaying of hips and shoulders from side to side. Maybe some circles around feels the right thing to do, but just knowing this is kind of an opportunity for you just to kind of feel and connect with what feels right for you in this moment. So when you feel ready, what I'd like you to do again is push the bolster forward. So you're going to push it all the way towards the top end of your mat now. We're going to come to lie upon our fronts, bring your bring your forearms onto the bolster, and then rest your forehead upon your forearms. So we're in a slightly elevated version of crocodile pose. If this elevated version of crocodile pose just doesn't feel comfortable for you, get rid of the bolster and just rest upon the floor with your forearms. If you're finding maybe lower back feels a little bit tweaky here, take the feet a little bit wider. That can always help to slightly release the lower back, or sometimes just having a little sort of wiggle through the pelvis can be useful. So this is just focusing that back bend to be a little bit lower down, so more towards the mid and the lower part of your back. For those that wish, you could elevate this a little bit higher still by lifting your head off of your forearms and just maybe utilizing the bolster with your elbows, hands interlaced, just looking ahead and over that bolster if you wanted to just put a little bit more pressure into that lower back, come into a slightly different back bend to the one that you're in currently if you stayed in that crocodile pose. So just a couple more breaths wherever you are. And what I'd invite you to do now is slide your hands either side of your body. Push yourself up. Again, bring the bolster with you. We're going to spin it around. So we're just going to use like the top end of the bolster, or again, cushion, blanket, or pillows. Big toes are going to come together. Knees are going to be a little bit wider. We're going to rest our forehead upon the edge of the bolster or support. And then bring your hands and see if you can interlace them together behind your back. So you could be a little bit more active here and squeeze your shoulder blades together. So by doing that, you'll kind of end up straightening your arms a little bit more, and you might find they kind of slide along or down the back a little bit further. Some of you might just want to be kind of in a place where there's a little bit of resistance there, but not so much that you kind of end up feeling like there's too much force or effort. So when you feel ready, release the hands, bring the hands either sides of your legs, and just gently push yourself up. And we're going to come up into a kneeling position. So if this feels uncomfortable for you, grab your bolster, slide it underneath so you can sit upon it, so you're not compressing through the ankles and through the knees so much. So we're just going to take a few moments here just to connect with our breath. So I want you to bring one hand against your abdomen, the other hand against your chest or breast area. And just begin to connect with the breath. Feeling the breath. Noticing how, as you breathe in and you breathe out, there will be movement under the hands that relate to your breath. So we're going to begin to just connect with that idea of using the breath to calm our nervous systems down a little bit more by breathing freely through the nostrils. And as you breathe out, breathe through the mouth and allow your breath to be as long as feels comfortable for you through the mouth. So at the end of that exhale, breathe in through the nose again, just naturally. And an elongated exhalation through the mouth. So I want you to continue with that breathing practice. And as you continue with that breathing practice, with each exhalation, it's as though you are allowing yourself to let go of additional tension, of tightness, of holding on. Letting go of those things that might be in your mind that you feel are no longer serving you. Those difficulties or past resentments. Those struggles that we have internally with ourselves. So I'd like you to maybe let the hands just fall away from the body now. Just rest them on your legs or in your lap. Just take a moment just to let yourself just sit tall from your seat through to your crown again. Allowing yourself to just connect with how you are at this time. And then what I'd invite you to begin to do is start to prepare yourself ready for relaxation. So putting on any layers, any extra clothing, blankets. If you would like to lie, you are more than welcome to lie. If you'd like to sit, you're more than welcome to sit. You just need to be comfortable for about sort of the next 15 to 20 minutes. I want you to be as comfortable as you can be. I'm just going to walk to the studio corner and turn the main lights off, so you'll just be able to see the outline of me on the recording. Again, if you need to adjust the environment that you're within, please do. Allow yourself to feel as comfortable as you can. Giving yourself this opportunity for rest and relaxation. So I'd invite you to just allow yourself to start to become aware of the surfaces that are beneath you. And allow yourself to connect with that idea of the body being held. Held by the equipment, held by the floor, held by the earth, held by these practices. And notice how it feels, if it's okay for you, to let go of that effort. The idea of holding on. Let go of it. Allow yourself to be aware of the different sounds that you can hear all around you. Life and activity happening maybe within the dwelling that you're in and outside of the dwelling that you're in. Recognizing that we've created this time and this space for us to be able to relax, to nurture and take care of ourselves. So the next part of our practice is going to involve a rotation of your awareness around your body. So what I'm going to do is just name various different parts of the body. And you just maybe need to allow yourself to follow the routine of where the instructions are being offered. Or it might be that you just allow yourself just to kind of drift in and out of awareness, just knowing that that routine and that rotation that we're doing is there just to kind of act as a vessel for you to feel connected to something. So we're going to start off our rotation this evening over on the right-hand side of ourselves. So I'd invite you to be aware of your right hand thumb. So just being aware of just your right hand thumb. And then move your attention to your right first finger, to the right second finger, to the right third finger, to your right little finger. An awareness of the palm of your right hand, the back of your right hand, an awareness of your right wrist, the right forearm, your right elbow, an awareness of your right upper arm, of the right shoulder and armpit, an awareness of the right hand side of your torso, your right rib cage, the right waist, your right hip, an awareness of the front of your right thigh, the back of the right thigh, the front of the right knee, the back of the right knee, an awareness of your right shin bone, calf muscle, ankle joint, the right heel, an awareness of the sole of your right foot, the top of your right foot, your right big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, little toe. An awareness of the right hand side of your body. And then moving your awareness over to the left hand side. An awareness of your left hand thumb. And an awareness of your left first finger, your left second finger, the left third finger, of your left little finger. An awareness of the palm of your left hand, the back of your left hand, an awareness of your left wrist, an awareness of your left lower arm, the left elbow joint, an awareness of your left upper arm, your left shoulder, the left armpit, the left hand side of your rib cage, the left waist, an awareness of your left hip, an awareness of the front of the left thigh, the back of the left thigh, at the front of the left knee, the back of the left knee, an awareness of your left shin bone, calf muscle, ankle joint, the left heel, an awareness of the sole of your left foot, of the top of your left foot, of your left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, your left little toe. and awareness of the whole of the left side of your body. Then moving your attention to the back of your body, and awareness of both of your heels, of both of your buttocks, of both of your shoulder blades, and awareness of the back of your head. Then move your attention back down to the lower part of the back, so to your tailbone, the back of your pelvis, the lower back, the mid back, the back of your rib cage, your upper back, the back of your neck. And then move your attention all the way to the very top of your head. Have an awareness between the soles of your feet and the top of your head. Then draw your attention to your forehead. Relax in the forehead. Relaxing both of your eyes. Relaxing both of your cheeks. Relaxing both of your jaws, the upper jaw and the lower jaw. Relaxing your tongue, your throat, the whole of your face. Then bring your attention to the center of your collarbones, an awareness of your right collarbone and your left collarbone, an awareness of the center of the chest or breast area, of the right side of your chest or breast, the left side of your chest or breast. Then bring your attention to the front of your rib cage, just below the area of the upper abdomen, your navel center, the area of your lower abdomen, the area of the pelvic bowl. Have an awareness now of the length of your spinal column. So from the tailbone all the way through the center of your torso, through the head or through the neck, and all the way up into the center of the head. Have a sense of the whole of the spinal column, the whole length of the spinal column. And what I'd invite you to begin to do is just start to allow yourself to connect with your breath. And as you breathe in, I'd like you to breathe from the very tip of your tailbone all the way up to the very center of your skull. As you exhale from the center of the skull all the way back to the tip of the tailbone. So as you inhale, you're breathing up the length of the spinal column. And as you exhale, you're breathing down the length of the spine. With the inward and upward breath, there's a sense of bringing in vitality. And as you're breathing out and down the spine, there's a sense of softening or letting go. So it's almost as though as you're breathing in, you're welcoming in new vitality. And as you're breathing out, you're letting go of old, used energy. Drawing in that new energy from all around you. Breathing out that used energy and letting it just kind of be took by the earth that you're resting upon. You might even allow yourself to visualize or picture the breath like a ball of energy or a ball of light moving up and down that spinal column. Maybe there's just a sense of the felt experience. And then what I'd like you to do is just begin to allow yourself to expand your points of awareness. So you're going to start your in-breath from beyond the soles of your feet and breathe all the way up the whole length of the body, past the crown of the head and breathe almost beyond the crown of the head. And as you exhale, you're going to exhale from beyond the crown of the head all the way through the body and all the way back out through the soles of the feet and beyond the soles of the feet. It's almost as though you're breathing beyond the length of your body. So the inhale starts and ends beyond the length of your body, and the exhale does the same thing. So again, it's almost as though you're drawing in this new revitalized energy within each in-breath, and each out-breath is this opportunity to soften and let go. Connecting with that cycle, the change in every breath. Welcoming in the new opportunities with the in-breath and letting go of any stoutness or stagnancy, habits or things we are maybe ready to let go of with the out-breath. So when you feel ready, what I'd like you to do is on the tail of this next exhalation, just let go of that practice if you're still using it. And just allow yourself just to let the breath just find its natural rhythm and pattern. Again, connecting in with this idea that we're creating this space for ourselves. A space for rest. A space for opportunity. A space for our intention. I'd like you to bring your attention to a part of your body that feels really heavy. So that might be the back of your head. It might be a sense of your feet or your pelvis. It might be the whole back or the side of your body or the base of your body, depending on how you're lying or sitting. But just tune into that sensation of heaviness, of a sense of denseness that you can feel within your body. Feeling that connection between the earth and that sense of heaviness or denseness resting against it. And then let go of that idea of heaviness, and I want you to become aware of a sense of lightness within yourself. And maybe just notice where you feel really light within yourself. It might even be felt in your breath. It might be felt across the front of the body in some way. Just exploring and connecting with a sense of lightness. Let go of that idea of lightness, and I'd like you to connect with an area of yourself that feels warm. And maybe warmth in your mouth, maybe warmth around your belly, maybe a part of yourself where it's maybe wrapped in clothing or blankets and feels very warm. Just feeding into that idea of warmth. And then let go of that idea of warmth and connect with somewhere within yourself that feels cool or cold. So again, it might be your in-breath. It might be a part of you that feels exposed to the room, some skin that's feeling cooler than the rest of the body. But just feeling into that sensation of coolness. And allow that idea to go. And then what I'd invite you to do is allow yourself now to reconnect with your intentions or reasons behind your practice this evening. Maybe those logical things that you thought about at the start of this practice, and just reminding ourselves what they were. Your reasons for coming. And then remembering that space that we created within ourselves for opportunity, for the unknowns. And allow yourself to maybe recognize what those unknown things were to you at the start of the practice that you might want to remember or take with you. Feeding into that sense of unconscious, our unconscious intuition. Being open to all those possibilities, whatever they may be. And then what I'd like you to do is start to allow yourself to be more aware of the sounds again. The sounds happening around you, the sounds happening within you. Maybe allowing yourself to start to let the breath get a little bit fuller, a little bit deeper. And then when you feel ready, you may wish to just start to invite some movement back into the body. So you might find yourself just naturally stretching, yawning, sighing. If you've been lying on your back, you might want to roll to one side. If you've been lying on your side, you might just roll to the other side or bring yourself up to sit. But taking your time to come up into a seat that feels comfortable for you. Try and avoid yourself getting too stimulated by other things that might be going on in the room or lights or anything electronic. And then bring yourself back into a seat where you are sitting tall from your seated bones all the way up to your crown. Bring your hands together into Amanjali Mudra. So you're just pushing left and right hands together. And just lightly bowing your head towards those hands and that gesture of connection that we've made towards ourselves. But also that gesture of connection that we're making towards each other as well. And acknowledging the care and the attention we've shown to ourselves, the care and the attention that we've shown to each other, and that care and attention that we can take into our everyday lives and support those that we interact with on a daily basis. Om Shanti. Thank you, everybody, for your time this evening. Really nice to be here with you all. I hope to see you next week.